afternoon, everyone. I am Michelle, and I will be your instructor this afternoon. We're going to wait a few minutes to see if anybody else is going to be joining us before I begin. Okay, so this afternoon I will be going over some of the changes for the 2018 season. Just so you are aware, although I have been in the business with TaxWise for the past 15 years, I am in no way a tax preparer. I love to hear feedback from all of the tax preparers that are attending this session, especially if I need to be corrected. So most of the things I've already done because of testing for the forms, and I know like all the different Schedule 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then of course of doing like research as far as Google is your friend and going to the irs.gov website, and they explain it better there. And then I took a few webinars to make sure that I understood everything correctly, because sometimes you know how that goes. They tell you in technical terms, and I like it to be broken down a little bit more easier so I have a better understanding of it. So whether you're online, the online version or the desktop version, it's going to be the same. You're going to have the 1040 page 1, page 2, and then schedule 1 through 6. Your schedule A's, B's, C's, D's are still in there. Don't worry about it. So when we come into the online version, it looks like this in the tree to the left-hand side. So you'll see your little schedules that are right here. When you go into the desktop version, of course, you're going to see your schedules right here as well. They've basically taken the 1040 and split it up into different parts. So on the 1040 page 1, it's just going to show you like the taxpayer's name and spouse, address, what filing status it is, and the dependent, and of course their taxpayer occupation. Page 2 is where you're going to get into the nitty-gritty, where it was line 7 that took you to like a W-2 or a 1099, things like that. It's now line 1. So like your wages, your taxable interest, your Social Security benefits, and then of course the standard deduction, all that kind of good stuff. Even they've put it up on the list so you don't always have to scroll all the way to the bottom like you would with the 1040 page 2 to see the refund or the amount that you owe. So Schedule 1 is going to go over like your additional income and your adjustments to income. Schedule 2 is for the alternative minimum tax. Schedule 3 is for like foreign tax credit, credit for child and dependent care, education credits. Schedule 4, self-employment tax, in case you have a Schedule C in here. Schedule 5 will go over like the 2018 estimated tax payments and the amount applied from 2017. Rather than putting it on the 1040, just put it over here. Schedule C is the foreign address, state, code, things like that. So I'm not sure why they decided to break it up into 6 different schedules. I thought it looked better when it was just on the 1040 page 1 or page 2. You just needed to scroll down. But I guess they felt it'd be better to break it up into different pages so that you can go to wherever you need to and going forward. So the changes that affect most of the taxpayers that are up and coming are basically, let me get to my little page. So the standard deduction increases. So if single and married filing separate goes to 12,000, married filing joint goes to 24,000, and head of household 18,000. Personal exemption is eliminated, so that 4,050 personal exemption that you were previously able to take in previous years, you won't be able to do it. I work from home for the time being until I move to the office in Florida, probably at the first of the year. So I can't even include for the couple months that I did work from home that expense on there or the business use of my home, because I did use it for business. So I'm not even going to be able to claim that. Child tax credit, that's a plus for some people because I have a child and that'll increase. But the thing with the personal exemption is I have a friend that does taxes and she has 7 dependents, and her personal exemptions have gone out the door, especially with her and her husband being able to do the married filing joint and claiming the personal exemptions. Now going forward, you can't do that, so it's another thing. Let's see. The ACA individual mandate won't go into effect for the 2018 season. You won't be able to see it until 2019 when you prepare those taxes. So even if I know that everybody's been bombarded, or the taxpayers have been bombarded with phone calls, emails, text messages, hey, open enrollment is going on, go ahead and sign up for your health care coverage. Now, when you go to file your taxes for the 2019 season, you're not going to actually be penalized. So that's a plus sign, especially with people out there that can't afford it, or even if they did were able to afford it and got the exemption for the monthly premiums. Now they don't really have to do that, and they can look forward to actually getting a refund rather than having to owe. So another thing, mortgage interest deduction drops, so that'll be in there as well. And I'll bring this over here because I pulled this off of the irs.gov website. And if you want more information, just go to the irs.gov website, plug in 2018 tax law changes, and you'll be able to see it. So the lower tax rate for the 10, 12, 22, 24, 32, 35, and 37%. And the way that when I took the little class, and it looked as me. So I make $100,000 a year, even though I don't. But okay, so the first up to 9525 is 10%, and then you go forth for each bracket, and then that's how they conclude it. So let's see what else is here. The mortgage and home equity debt. The new law also caps the amount of mortgage indebtedness of new home purchases on which interest can be deducted at $750,000, down from $1 million. Tax deductions that are going away, moving expense. So when I do move down to Florida, I won't be able to claim my moving expense. Miscellaneous itemized deductions are subject to the 2% income, such as job expenses and investment expenses. Personal casualty and theft losses, unless they are declared a federal disaster. So there was quite a few disasters that happened this season. I know the recent one was from Hurricane Michael and those that lived in Mexico City and Panama City Beach that were affected by that. Anything else, like as far as other hurricanes or natural disasters like tornadoes and things like that. Alimony. So this is kind of a weird one. For divorce or separation agreements executed after December the 31st, alimony and separate maintenance payments are not tax deductible by the pair and not included in the income of the recipient. That was not the case under prior law. And then, of course, our health care. So a lot of people will be pleased that they won't have to pay that penalty going forward into 2019. Now, since you guys are the tax professionals and know more about taxes than I do, if I missed anything, please let me know so that way I can go over it and we can have a discussion on it. And as far as the forms that are in the system, it's the beginning of the season, and more than likely they'll have to update it before the first official date to e-file. And I know with the preseason loans and January the 2nd pre-file, it may change it if they have to update it after January the 2nd. So that way it may either give them more of a refund or they may be getting less of a refund. So always keep that in mind. I'm not sure how they're going to actually set it up to where once you transmit it to the bank for January the 2nd, if they're going to allow you to be able to go back in there to once you get the actual W-2 to make changes and then e-file it, or if they're going to lock it down and e-file it that way. So more to come on that one, and when I know more as to how they're going to do it, I will make sure to let you guys know, because I'm sure that when you're coming in here for January the 2nd pre-files, you're basically basing it off of a pay stub, and it's going to be a little bit different once they actually get their actual W-2s. So you may need to come in here and make changes, and like I said, more to come after that. But it's the same principle. I fill out all the information on the main information sheet. It comes over into the 1040. Let me go into the online version because most of you are online. So I'm coming in here. I have my red exclamation mark. I'm filling out all the necessary changes to get the red out. So I've got my children on here. I've got it listed as a bank product with EPS. I've got my taxpayer PIN and then my ERO firm. I'm going to come over here to the 1040 page 1. Well, page 2 rather, because it's no longer on the page 1. So I'm going to come over here and select either the triangle or hit F9 to go to an actual W-2. I have a W-2 already in here, so I'm going to just fill out the information as it applies, and whatever's listed as far as on the pay stub, you're going to come in here and put that information. And then, of course, for the state, you'll be able to put it down here and all that information. So my 1040 worksheet 3 is listed for the child tax credit. If you claim the child tax credit on your 2017 income tax return, was the child tax credit reduced or disallowed? No. And since I have 2 qualifying children, it's $4,000 rather than $1,000 for each one of them. And you'll notice that once I started plugging in the information for the W-2, my income or my refund actually went up. So somebody wanted to know where to find out about the new tax law changes. Let's open a different browser, and you can either Google it or go to the irs.gov website, and in the little search bar, go to the 2018 tax law changes. Law changes for 2018 affecting withholding, EITC, things like that. I am a fan of Google, and if I go to 2018 tax law changes, I get a lot of information here from different articles, and you can come in here like your complete guide to the 2018 tax changes, and it will go over the description of what actually is going to take place. Let me get in here because I can actually attach this and give it to you guys in case you wanted it. So let me get over here. And where's my attachment? And where did it go? It's on my desktop somewhere. There we go. So let me drag and drop it for you guys. And you should be able to pick it up and you can just save it to your desktop so that way you have that. And let's go back in over here. But like I said, you can easily do a Google search for it. It'll bring up quite a few articles, and some of them go more into detail than the rest of them do. And of course, irs.gov will always have that. And make sure that you're aware that there are some in here that says irs.com rather than irs.gov. Just be aware that the gov is the legit one. Okay, so I'm on chat. Okay. So I'm going to come over here to schedule EIC. You really don't have to worry about anything on here because it's not highlighted as red. So I'm going to come over here to the worksheet and just answer the questions as far as the children go. Yes. No. No. Yes. Did your taxpayer know from no? So yes, yes, no. Does the qualifying child have a yes? Yes. If you took the IC, no. And there we go. And then of course the 8867 and so forth that you'll be filling out. And like I said, that refund spiked once I started entering information as far as the income goes, and of course the $4,000 for the children itself. And I'm sure it's going to be different brackets as far as how much you're earning in the year, and then of course you don't have your personal exemptions, especially if you have multiple children. And I know that is going to affect a lot of people with the multiple children, because of course my friend is going to be affected with her and her 7 children. She won't be able to claim that. So, does anybody have any questions? Well, thank you, Ron. I appreciate that. Now, if you guys have questions, there are other tax preparers in here, and we can always converse amongst ourselves to discuss what's going to be happening next season. So if you have more than 3 children, you can't claim EIC, but can you get child dependent credit? So the way that it works is if you're down here and you do have the option to select it past the 3rd child, especially if you go to the additional dependent worksheet and add more than 4 children on there, it gives you the option to select the dependent care. I'm missing all the training that the alimony change only affects since December the 31st, 2018. Yes. So when I looked it up, it was basically, yeah, anything for divorce or separation agreements executed after December the 31st, 2018. If a child worked but is listed on his parents' return, does the child still get the deduction? I want to say yes, but I'm going to ask the rest of you if you know the answer to that, so that way we can tell it to the whole group. Okay, so Edward says, I didn't think if a child works and is claimed as a dependent, they don't get a deduction. That would be like two people claiming the same dependent. Okay, so there's your answer. No, they don't get a deduction. The parents do. If the parent claims the child should get the deduction if used to be no exemption. Okay, so we have two different answers here. If the parent claims the child should get the deduction. Yes, I did Google it, Ron. Taxpayer with an ITIN number, the child tax credit will be available for 2019. I know that if the parents have an ITIN and the child has an ITIN, you can't do an EIC credit, but they can get the child tax credit. And then somebody also asked, can you get EIC if a person has more than 3 children? And Lorraine said yes. And Ron says just 3. I only ever thought it was the first 3 children you can get EIC on. The rest you can't, but you can get the child tax credit on. Yes, I can email you over the tax law change cheat sheet, especially if you weren't able to grab it in the attachments. So let's go to the Schedule EIC form instructions. Well, I don't want that one. I don't want the action form. I want the instructions. Oh, and of course, the Schedule A and the Schedule EZ are no longer in play for the 2018 and on. So Child 1, Child 2, and Child 3 on the form. And just in case you guys ever wanted to know, like if you do a Google search for EIC calculator, in most cases you can plug in like how much they're getting as far as like AGI, the filing status, and the number of children. So I'm going to say single head of household, number of children, 3 or more, and I'm going to say 45,000, and your EITC is $698. So let's put it to a little bit below that one. See? And then, of course, this one has a neat little thing, am I eligible, things like that. If you guys wanted to just go to eitcoutreach.org. The schedule A through I think it's S or R, schedule R are still in there. The 1040A and the 1040EZ are no longer in play. And there's also another form that you can actually. And of course, on the irs.gov, it has the EITC assistant. And this is for 2017. They haven't updated it for 2018 as of yet. Find out if you're eligible. Are you U.S. citizen? Yes. Next. Married, please select yes. You and your spouse were married and lived together. You and your spouse were living together in a common law marriage. We're just going to say yes. Was your spouse a U.S. citizen? Yes. Are you choosing to file a joint return with your spouse? Oh, well, that's the filing status. I don't want to know what the filing status is. I want to know what EIC is. I think it might be EIC estimator. Hey, they got. Let's see if they have one for 2018. Yes, you are correct, Ron. The IRS does actually have a chart with all the statuses and incomes. And yes, I do have to dig a little bit deeper. Do I qualify? There's so many things that you can Google for. Go back to the search. And publication 596. I wonder if it's in here. Here we go. See if I can make this bigger for you guys to see. So, yeah, it only goes up to 3 children or 3 dependents. So, yeah, you only get it on the first 3 dependents. And if you ever wanted to know, yeah, if you type in EIC table, it should bring you to, like, you can come over here to what it looks like or the actual form. And you can go down here to what the AGI is and then what the dependent is. And it'll tell you how much of EIC that the taxpayer should be receiving. And I'm sure they're going to eventually put it up, the 2018 version. Let's go to the 2018. So here's your table on the single head of household or widowed or married filing joint. Of course, you can't do it if you're married filing separate. So qualifying children 0, 1, 2, or 3. Even if you have 3 or more, it's going to be the same amount that you would get if you had 3 children. Because it'll show it right here. So somebody had a question as far as dependent care. Would they get the credit of the $500? Let's go test something. Then let's go over to the dependent care. So it looks like 2 children. If we put in children under 13. Let's go back and change the child's age. Make sure they're all under the age of 13. If you're not referring to the dependent care, are you referring to the child tax credit? So they do have the worksheet 1, and these are the other 2 kids. Or, yeah, other 2 kids. For EIC, there's a new credit called Other Dependent Credit, and that, oh, I know what you're talking about. So the new 2018 child tax credit changes. To be per qualifying. Okay, so 2,000 per qualifying child. In other words, if you have 1 child, it'll be 2,000. If you owe the IRS 5,000 for each year, and I've da. Because I know that there is. I don't think I put it in that sheet either. This one, a new 500 tax credit is available for dependents. Where did it go? Dependents who are not your children. So if you're claiming like a niece, a nephew, and as long as they're under 17 years of age. So let's change something. Let's change this to brother and 1 to niece. And let's go to the worksheet 3. Or do we need to mark it as other dependent? Let's find out. Other. Yes, other dependent. So if they don't qualify to be like your child itself or a niece, a nephew, like a non-blood relative, and you list them as an other dependent, then yes, they still get a credit of $500. So, like in a situation, if you've married into the other person having children and they're not your blood relatives, then other. Or I'm not sure if this still applies. Like if you've been living together with somebody for quite some time and you claim them as dependents, but you list them as other, and as long as they're under the age of 17. So stepchildren count as like the actual $2,000 credit. Yeah, $2,000 credit versus the $500 credit. So they count as dependents and adopted. So if it's a dependent listed as other, you still get a credit of $500. So they can be combined if you have more than three. I think with the child tax credit, you can have more than three. It's just the EIC that doesn't allow for anything past the third child. The 500 is considered a refundable credit. And Ron said that is correct. Your friend gets 14,000 but loses 28,000. Thank you, Ron. So somebody asked, and only 1,400 of the 2,000 is refundable. So let's go back over here to my cheat sheet. So the child tax credit for children under 17 years old is doubled from 1,000 to 2,000. 1,400 of the tax credit is refundable, which means you can still get $1,400 credit even when you have no tax liability. Sharina, I think it's like if you have three children of your own, and you've listed them like son, daughter, even niece, nephew, sister, brother, um, if there are more than 3 dependents and the other past the 3 dependents are listed as other, then you can still get a $500 credit for those children that are listed as other. You're welcome. Yes, I will be able to send out my cheat sheet. I tried to upload it via the actual webinar info. Are you guys not able to actually? We apologize, but hold on. Let me see. See, it won't let me do it, which is weird. But yes, I will email it out to you guys. Okay. So, I'm going to be sticking around for a few minutes, and I'll be emailing you guys the cheat sheet. If you guys have any questions, please ask. That's good to know, Ron. So my friend with the 7 kids, as Ron says, loses 28,000 for the exemption, the personal exemptions, gains 14,000 and 12,000 in standard, so only 2,000, and with the reduced tax rate might break even. So she might get a surprise when she goes to file her taxes and notices that she breaks even, which is a good thing because raising 7 kids, even with a husband, is still difficult as is. Somebody had a good question. When will you be able to see the 2018 tax software? It is already out there. You should have received an email from us last week for the 2018 software and how to access it. If you're online and you go to, actually, let me pull up the email that was sent out. So this is what the email looks like when you first initially received it. It says the 2018 tax software is now available. And if you go to twonline.taxwise.com and you don't put like 18 or anything in it, it'll take you directly, it defaults to the current season. And if you use the desktop version in order to download it, go over here to where it says TaxWise desktop, select here, left hand side, you're going to see what says, let me bring it over here, desktop download, and select the 2018. Your registration code will actually be in the email that was sent out to you. Yes, Ron, I totally agree with you. If you guys are utilizing the desktop version, the online version is a whole lot better in my opinion, because you don't have to install it. You just go to the website. You don't have to update it. You don't have to network it. You don't have to back it up. We do all that for you. So you don't have to worry about all of that. All you do is go to the website. You can bookmark it. You can even do what I've shown a bunch of the other people in my other trainings and create a desktop icon to where you can just double click it. It takes you directly to the login page. You log in from there. Easy peasy. And of course, you can use both the desktop and the online version. You can use the desktop version for the business returns because they're not in the online version as of yet. Hopefully, somewhere in the near future, they can get it all to the online version so you don't have to be using 2 separate softwares. But it still is a good idea for you to be able to install the desktop version so that way, in case your internet does go out, you always have a backup plan to be able to still create the returns in the desktop version and then just upload them to the online version when the internet comes back, so it doesn't stop the business from going on. And if you guys want to switch from the desktop to the online version, just give us a call or email us to let us know so that way we can change you to the online version and get you set up with that. And before we, how can I control transmittals with the online version? So, great thing about this is, let me save and close this return. When you are setting up your users, you have the capability of assigning them specific tasks and what they are able to do. So like I've got my name listed as just the return preparer and a licensed user. They can't transmit the return at all. Unless of course they have like the super user or the admin privileges, or if they have the one that says e-file manager. So yes, that gives you the capability of saying, okay, well, you can prepare the return, you just can't e-file it. And on a side note, Alexis will probably end up sending you guys an email probably either today, hopefully today, or tomorrow. I've actually included an additional webinar for Thursday afternoon to go over Protection Plus so that you have a better understanding of it. And the way that it works with our system is you get charged $15 for every return that you do. And I've made mention that if you can get your customers to sign up with the prepaid card, then we rebate you that $15. And we also have another incentive if your customer doesn't want the debit card and just wants it like on a check or direct deposit, things like that. If you can get them signed up with a Protection Plus, then it's a $30 fee to them. But out of the $30, we rebate you $15 of it. You cannot download the online version to the desktop, but you can create a shortcut to view on the desktop. So when you double click it, it takes you directly to the login if you're not already logged in, or it'll take you directly to the site. Yes. In order for any user other than your admin user that you have, you need to make sure to assign them the license user because they will not be able to log into the software without that on their side. So make sure they have this license user on the assigned roles. With the online version, will the admin be able to see all returns before transmittal? If you have it set up to where they are only able to prepare the return and not transmit them, and you as an admin, if you go in there, you can see all the returns and get them ready to transmit and then e-file them. Do you put both return preparer and license user? Yes. If you only want them to be be able to prepare the return, then yes, put the return preparer and the license user there. As of right now, they haven't officially released anything as far as the first day to e-file goes. But yes, we do the hub testing, which is usually a week before the first official day, so that way you can start transmitting e-files. So somebody did say that the IRS projected January the 22nd, but as we know, IRS can change things. So it may be the 22nd and it may be after, because I don't think it'll be before. So somebody asked if the Returns Online version can be backed up to your desktop or flash drive. Yes. So when you are in the software, and I'll do the 2017 version since it's here. If I come over here to the tax return tab and I select view more actions, there is an export return feature. It creates a zip file and it emails you over with the passcode to unzip that file. So that way you can unzip it to an external hard drive, a jump drive, flash drive, or even to the C drive if you create a folder on it. So there's always a way. We back it up and we do it securely. But if you guys want to, we give you that option to be able to export the returns so that way you have a copy of them. And of course, with anything that gets exported, and especially with this having a password, even if you have the password and you unzip it, you actually have to have the software in order to open it and see the data. You do have the option when you do print the return, it prints to a PDF format. And if you want to create a folder on your desktop or external hard drive and label it as 2018 tax returns, and you can easily put all of your PDFs in there as far as a backup goes as well. Well, that concludes the webinar. Please join me for some more, especially the one for Protection Plus. That way you have a better understanding and um, things like that. And of course, if you have any questions, please reach out to us so that way we get you taken care of. I hope everybody has a very wonderful day.